Welcome back, guys. My name is Sobi. Welcome to a new episode. Today I'm gonna talk about some interesting topic regarding any project, which is the admin panel. So today I had a few minutes and implemented a functionality regarding Spatie's permission package, which is about permissions, roles and permissions, and mostly the authorization process of a project. So I made a simple implementation of this, and I would like to show it to you. And also maybe I will do some tweaks here and there just to exemplify what we have done. And also I will make this available in the GitHub, of course, where you can check out the code that I'm writing. So what I've done, I've installed the package, created some models, I've extended some existing models with migrations, and also created all the Vue components for this. And let me show you how I made this approach. Of course, this can be further developed in many ways and enhanced in a lot of ways. This is just a simple idea of roles, users, and permissions. So let's get started and see what we can do about this. This is the project. I've made some additions from the last time, when we made the categories. Let me open up the website. So it's called localhost 8020 port. Okay, we have the login, we have the credentials. Okay, so I would like to separate the admin part of this project with the front end. For now it's the same, but in a later episode we will distinguish the both of these functionalities. So here are my categories. As you can see, we've done this last time. Let me just fire up the hot reload for this project. Okay, so now everything looks fine. So as you remember, we did all these categories with editing and all that. Test, and also this is working and it's updated. But what I've done from the last time, I've installed Laravel Spatie's package, which is called Laravel Permission. You can check this out. It's a great tool. It's not something that you cannot do by yourself, but it's an easy way to do all these permissions. So you have all these models and all these functions that you can use for free, which is excellent. Okay, so I've made the users tab. I'm seeded all the table with users. I don't know how many hundred of users I have. I've did it without pagination here, but we can implement that. And I have these filters, like this is from Inertia.js demo app, just for example. And I have the permissions and the roles. For example, if I search for my name, okay, you can see that I have my name, my email address, and the password. And also I have all the permissions and the roles that are available in this application. Also, because we will use APIs, I made a small function that generates these tokens, and you can have only one token per user. Okay, and we can regenerate, and it's creating a new token. Also, we can update the name and the email and the password and so on. Okay, with validations, of course. Okay, and also I have the permissions. We can manage categories, which I've made just a simple permission because I didn't implement any permissions yet. So if we open up a category, a permission, sorry, we can see that I can assign all of these users to this permission. Okay, I can select all the doctors here, and let's just check these and save the permissions. And now every doctor has this permission. So we can check that. For the example, let's search for Stone O'Hara, Dr. Stone. And you can see that I have this permission which I've checked previously. Now, I have these roles. For example, let's say order manager. Let's create a new role, order manager. First of all, let's create a permission. Can place orders. Okay, a new one. Can delete orders. And let's add a new one. Can edit orders. Okay, so I have 3 permissions regarding orders. Now we can create a new role, which order manager. Okay, and also I have the ability to add these permissions on the fly or not, if I want to. So when I create a new order, automatically I will assign these 3 permissions to that new role. Okay, so I have the order manager, and I have all the users which I can assign it to it, and also I have these 3 permissions. The interesting thing is that, for example, if I select the first one, Abdul Test, or let's select Noemi Lynch, and we will assign this role to Noemi Lynch, you will see that she will inherit all the permissions from this role. Okay, as you can see, she has this order manager role and she has all these permissions, but maybe I can restrict her to not be able to delete the roles, the orders. I can take this role or permission away from her. Okay, so how did I did this? First of all, I've told you that I've installed the package. Then I've merely made some modifications here on the database because I forgot to add the deleted timestamps to the roles and permissions and the user. I have a new API token because I need to have these tokens for the further future example. Okay. And after that, I've made the migrations, and I added these 2 deleted that to the permissions and the roles table. But for this to be able to be done, I needed to extend this role, this model with Spatie's model, and added a new functionality which I needed it for the filtering and also for the role and for the soft deletes. Okay, so I've extended their model with 2 additional functionalities. This is the filtering scope filter, which I am using here when you search for name, for example, Noemi, or we can search for the trashed or with trashed or only trashed. For example, let's delete her. Okay, so we won't find Noemi from now, but if we can change this with trashed, we may find her, or only trashed. We won't find any user but the trashed ones. So it will throw an error because I didn't make this show with deleted at. But here is the user which is deleted at the moment. Okay, let's clear the filters and they are back. Good. So back to the programming part. So made these extensions. Afterwards, I've added these has permissions, has roles to the user model, and also added a filter. I made it a small function that returns all the roles for this this user, just to have it sorted. And afterwards, I made the different resource controllers. For example, the user resource controller, which is inertia.js mostly. And how I made the updates, I made the edit with the user roles. It's getting all the roles for this user. It gets all the permissions for this user, which gets only the IDs from here. And we get all the roles and all the permissions just for referencing and displaying it here as such. Okay. So we have these. This is available also to the roles, but the roles are a little bit different because when we create a role, we have the store method. We also sync the permissions to this role because we, as you remembered, when we create the role, we send also the permissions if we want to, but it's not, it's optional. As you can see, if it has, it syncs the permission. If not, empty role. Okay, we have the role but without permissions, and we can go, so can manage categories, and it has a new permission. Okay, the permissions is the same almost. You can check this out. For each of these I've made some requests, request validations where request validations where I made the required name, string, minimum of 3 characters. The rule is unique on the permissions table, on the column name, except this current ID. So I don't override the name if it's not necessary. After this, I've made these resource controllers, as I've mentioned before. And of course, on the website, web routes, I've made some validations. Okay, the auth must be verified. And for the admin part, let's add a new middleware. Also, I forgot this. And it will be role super admin. Okay, and if I change this, sorry. Oh, I forgot to add something. Role from Spatie's documentation. Sorry, let's use it. I think it's the installation part. No, the middleware. Using a middleware. Okay, we have to add these 3 lines to the route middleware in the kernel file. This one, and let's add this after the can method. So if I refresh it now, it will work. So if super admin, I'm allowed to view these. If not, let's change this to X super admin. I don't have the permissions or the roles. Okay, so this is done correctly. Good. Right. So let's go on. We have these super admin. For example, I've made a permission can manage categories. So for this, I will add this role middleware. I can do permission or role, but I'm going to use permission can manage categories. It's better to work with permissions rather than roles, because permissions are inside the roles. And also, if you read Spatie's documentation, sorry, not testing Laravel, but permissions, and you see the best practices, roles versus permissions, they describe it why it's better to use permissions rather than roles. Okay, so to access the categories here, we need to have a permission. Okay, and let's check the super admin, disable this categories, and I don't have the permissions. Now we can go to the auth service provider, And we can do a super admin, as they told us to make a super admin. We can go to the alt service provider and gate before. We can use this gate method, alt access before, gate before function. And how they do it, user and the ability, user and the ability, and return. And we can use the user, the authenticated user has role, super admin, or true null. Okay, as you can see, it's the same. And now if I try to open this categories, it will work because I have the super admin role. Okay, so this is working as expected. So this functionality allows us to have this super admin role, and it bypasses every request, and I don't need to have different permissions. From now on, everywhere I will have access with this one line of code. It's a great tool of gates and policies from Laravel. Okay, on the next part, we can go a bit to the VueJS part with inertia.js and check this out. So I've made also some customizations regarding the CSS, small optimization. I've made a new button and a new columns CSS file. I use the columns only for this. As you can see, we have everything alphabetically aligned. It's going from the top to the bottom for each column in alphabetic order. Okay, so I compile this, and in the webpack mix I have added these, and everything is working fine. So on further note, let's take a look at the VueJS part. So we have the auth, different models, different components, I'm sorry, and we have the layouts. We have the authenticated admin layout, which we will implement only for the admin part, and we have the authenticated component, which will be available for the front end. So on the admin part, we have this the links. It's hard coded here, and we have the active routes with wildcarding. So even if we go to the roles, and do you see the underline here? And if we open a role, also the underline remains here because we've used the wildcard node here. So everything is highlighted. Okay, so this is the layout, and after that we have this. For example, let's go to the users. I have this small component using Vue3 with setup and different methods and props. Also the filtering and the form submission. So I'm using the inertia.js, the form submission, and we have these values from the props from the outside, user and filters. Let's open the user resource controller. For example, show, we have the user, the current user roles, permissions, all the roles and all the permissions. So, sorry for that. We have this, and also we iterate over each of the users in the table, showing all the users, email, and if it's trashed or not. And in the user component, we have a different setup, leveraging the Vue3 composition API. As you can see, I have the props for each of them. I have the errors, okay, and I have the API generator computer property, the title, and the form. This form is actually being sent by inertia.js to the backend as a request. And we have the destroy method, which deletes our current user. We have the submit for updating the user, and we have the generate method for creating a new token or regenerating an existing token for this particular user. So we have the user, the validations here, and also we have the name, the email, and the password, which has autocomplete off. Then we have all the permissions available in our own project. So for example, we have all the permissions for this user, for everyone, and we can create a new permission. For example, let's say can create products. Sorry. Okay. And if we refresh the user, you will see that the can create products, it's appearing here. So we have all the permissions, all the roles, empty role as we've created lastly. And I have all the token, and I have the button for deleting this user. Okay. And the update, of course. So this is how this works. And the role side, we have, it's the same thing mostly. We have the props for the name, the users, and the permissions for the users, the permissions. Also, I'm iterating through them, and it's working extremely well. So we have the permission, which is the same. So this is how I've done my part of the ACL, the authentication management, and the permissions and the roles, and everything is working as expected. So from now on, we can work on protecting our routes. Also, we can use the API v1, and let's say get the user. So let's get our user, and it says that I'm unauthenticated. Let me just use my token here and add it to the. So let's put this here at the moment. Get the user 101, but now I can assign a new role, a new permission for this route. Read, for example, read users, get user by ID. Okay, and now I can copy this, get user by ID, and add it here. You know what? Let's change this. Can manage users. Manage users. I've changed it. And middleware permission can manage users. Okay, so you will see that I don't have the permission. I will have the permission because I'm a super admin, but let me just auth service provider and comment out these 3 lines, and you will see that I don't have the permissions, the right permissions. And now let's go to my user, can manage users, and go to Sobi and assign this permission to me, even can manage users. And now my request will work. So as you can see, my route is protected by different permissions. Let's activate this and everything should be working fine. Okay, so this would be our administration for roles, permissions, and authorizations. I hope that this tutorial helped you. Don't forget to check out the GitHub for our code for the commit, and if you have any idea to enhance this feature, just let me know in the comments and keep me posted about your ideas. Thank you and see you in the next one. Cheers.